Hey, Alicia Novin here. I've been a software engineer for well over 15 years, and today I wanted to give the top 3 things that I wish I knew when I started off my career. So here we go. So the first one is something that I realized far too late in my own career, but I'm glad that I eventually did. And since doing that, I realized just how much time I could have saved if I had done it. And it's basically just to read actively, because if you're not reading, you're falling behind. And I think one of the reasons why is because when you're not reading, you're having to reinvent the wheel and learn through experience the long way. But when you're reading books and articles and blogs, you're seeing what other people have tried and tested and put through the ringer and how they emerged and what they did. So there's a lot of great resources out there, and I'm not just talking about reading textbooks or blogs on just pure code and learning more code. It's more about practices and methodologies and approaches. So one great one that I'll call out, which is a fairly new book, is called The Manager's Path. And that's one that if you're in technology and whether you want to take the manager path or not, it covers a lot of great stuff in terms of how to better work with your manager or just how to think through your career trajectory. Another one is called Agile Estimating and Planning, and that's by Mike Cohn. And that for me is like the definitive book on Agile and Agile approaches and communication. And then lastly, one that I absolutely love, I recommend it to everybody, and everyone who's read it really enjoys it, is called Working Effectively with Legacy Code. And that's by Michael Feathers. And that book is so great because eventually, and probably very early on in your career, you're going to work with code that is not yours, that might be old, might have a ton of technical debt. And when you're looking at code that is not yours and is fairly mature, it's really hard to know where to start and how to make it better, how to improve upon it. And this book has a ton of great tips to help you think through that problem. So definitely recommend checking that out. But otherwise, just go out there and read. So the second one is about building projects, not products. And what I mean by that is not just don't worry about monetizing what you're working on. It's more about when you think of something as a product, you're thinking about a much broader scope. You have to concern yourself with things like how is the user going to create their account and manage their settings, and do they message other users, and can they link to other users, and a lot of stuff that if you're thinking about the core minimum viable aspect of what you're making, and if you're looking to just build more technical experience, all of that other stuff can effectively become bloat. If you're actually looking to build a product, by all means go do it. But if you're more just trying to broaden the breadth of your experience, if you think of everything as a product and having to be this full-blown, fully featured kind of product, it's going to take a lot longer for you to just get a number of different varied projects under your belt. So think of things more in terms of projects, focus in on just what the core problem is, and don't worry about the scope of other things, because once you do that 1 or 2 times, you start to just repeat that same pattern. And so you're not going to get a lot of experience by doing things if you're always thinking of them as products. So the last one is basically just to find good people, find good mentors, and build yourself a strong network. It's easy to feel like you're out on an island in technology, but at the same time, the tech community is one that is incredibly cohesive. It's filled with people who want to champion each other, help each other out in terms of brainstorming or figuring out better ways to do things. And they're also really good at offering up criticisms. But the idea behind it is that you want a network of people that will just basically challenge you to learn more and do more. A strong network is one where it's not just about making connections on LinkedIn and liking each other's posts. It's more about knowing what that person is capable of, what their talents are, what their experience is about, having them know more about you, and just let it be that until one day when they might need some help out of you, or you might need some help from them, and you have a resource there. You don't know when it's going to happen, but it'll eventually happen. And knowing that there's someone in your network that can provide fill in the blank, that's really powerful. But the mentoring aspect, I want to spend a little more time on, because I'll be honest, when I started off my career, I thought this mentor-mentee kind of thing was a little cheesy. But as I started to have some really, really great mentors in my life, I realized the power of what a mentor can be for you. Mentors are people who are not friends or family members who are vested in the success of your career. They don't otherwise have this preconceived kind of idea of what you need to do or really anything. They're essentially strangers. But what they're there for is to be your sounding board. They're there to give you some guidance for what's worked for them. And they're there to challenge you in terms of how you're approaching things. Because they don't have that vested interest, they're going to be honest, they're going to be candid with you, and they're going to give you a perspective that you might not be getting from the people who are most close to you. So go out there and find some great mentors. Again, you can find them easily on LinkedIn, or there's tons of great Slack channels that are geared towards the tech community. So just go out there and just basically ask someone if they'd be willing to be a mentor. So that's it. Those are the three things. I think my career would have been much stronger earlier on if I had landed on these things earlier. I hope you'll consider them. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. And I also run this podcast called Increments.dev. It's about creating space where we can think about and be very intentional about how we want to grow in our careers. I hope you'll check it out. Go to Increments.dev. It's also on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and all of the other ones. So hope you'll check it out. Thanks a lot.